Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk Radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk Radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. Joining me right now, Alex Bosco from SB Tactical, talking about the stabilizer brace and the ATF. Alex, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry that we had the wrong number for you, but I'm glad we got you in there. How you doing, Fred?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So, all right, ATF has put out this proposal. It's kind of involved, and I think, and I'm going to ask you, I think they make an estimate of how many braces this affects. I think they've badly underestimated that. What can you tell us about that?
Well, they have to do an impact study, and, it's obvious that the ATF is re-engineering this entire aspect of banning braces to make it look to their favor. But in an effort to do this impact study, they're suggesting that there's roughly 3 million braces for the purposes of what they're trying to do. The government had already come up with a study that suggested there were anywhere between 10 and 40 million braces. I will tell you that we have made at least 2 to 3 million braces of one type of our braces. So
just one type?
One type, yes.
Wow. Okay, so what are they saying? I mean, well, let me back up. What's really going on here? Because in everything like this, there's the story and then there's the real story. What's the real story? What's going on here?
Well, I mean, the real story is nothing short of, and I hate to use the word because it's become trite, but it's nothing short of tyranny, because the document that they're suggesting, as I just told you, is re-engineered to essentially say that all of them are now illegal. And the only things you can do is either surrender the firearm to the ATF, remove the brace and destroy it, but that's only if you built the rifle yourself. If it's in an OEM configuration, you have to destroy the rifle or give it to ATF. They're suggesting you pay a tax stamp, but the tax stamp, as we all know, is for the manufacturer transfer. If these people already own the firearm, how are they to they never transferred it, they never manufactured it. So the entire document should be thrown out at face value. But the only thing we need to do, and what everybody needs to do right now, is to be writing to the ATF. It's the only thing that is on the table for a response.
And basically, because they have put out this 4 responses, and they're required to do that by law. And I noticed that on your website, when you first go to sb-tactical.com, you got a Join the Fight, a big red banner there. If you click on that, it takes you right to the information of what it is and, more importantly, how to respond.
Correct. And a lot of people are doing this. Frac Action's done it. FPC has done it. GOA's. I mean, everybody's coming out with a way to respond, and there is a way to do it. And the one thing that I will say while I'm on the air like this, I see a lot of people saying it's not, responding is ridiculous. We don't need to respond. We don't need to obey. The reality of it is that's not the case. We need to respond. It is the only way to fight back right now. You have to do that. If you don't do that, this is how we lose our rights. This is our 1934 National Firearms Act. This is our generation's 1986. I mean, what they're doing here is they are essentially turning 10 million to 40 million people into felons overnight. It's tyranny.
For anybody who says, well, we shouldn't have to respond, so therefore don't respond, I would agree. We shouldn't have to be doing this, but we do. And honestly, not responding is what I call sitting on your rear end and doing nothing and hoping that somebody else will carry the ball for you. It's called being lazy. It's being irresponsible. And frankly, you take yourself out of the Second Amendment fight if you don't respond. And Alex, I want to say this. This is not just for people who own stabilizing braces. This is for every gun owner who supports the Second Amendment.
It is. It absolutely is. And if somebody actually goes through these documents, it's 71 pages. So, Joe Gunn, who lives in flyover country, might not want to take the time to go through this document. But if you do actually go through the document and you look through this point system that they've come up with, which, like I told you, is re-engineered to essentially ban 99% of these braces, you'll realize that it is a insane overreach of the government. I mean, it's just you can't. It's ridiculous. Other than saying it's ridiculous and obscene and screaming that at the top of my lungs till I'm blue in the face, it's I don't know what to do anymore.
Well, you know what it is? It's in it's completely dishonest because they're saying one thing. I say, well, this is what this actually is. But when you read it, you realize it's actually something else altogether. And they know that. And so they're lying to the American public. They're lying to the media. The media is going to carry their message. And at this point, I guess I would ask listeners and gun owners, who are you going to believe? The ATF's description of what this is, or people in the gun industry who actually make these things and say, no, listen to this. This is what's going to happen. This is going to ban 99% of these. And I did not know this until you told me that if you have a stabilizing brace that you bought attached to a firearm, the whole thing has to be destroyed. The gun too.
It either has to be destroyed, surrendered to the ATF. There's nothing. Once you have a firearm that was made as a rifle, there is no way that it can become a pistol. Okay, it will always be a rifle, always. So Unfortunately, there's no going back. That's the way the law is written.
Interesting. So what we're talking about, these are, and they want to say these are, I guess what they're saying is these become SBRs at this point, as opposed to being pistols, because they're actually pistols. Is that right?
Well, it's interesting that you say that and bring that up, because I've said this to other people. If the suggestion is that anywhere between 10 to 40 million of these firearms are, in fact, short-barreled rifles, and their suggestion is that these are products that are more lethal than any other firearm on the market, then they're kind of arguing against themselves, because essentially they're suggesting out of this 71-page document, they've cited 2 moments where a firearm with a brace attached to it was actually used in murdering other people. So if 10 to 40 million people own these products, and these products are short-barreled rifles, wouldn't that suggest that the population that owns this product is actually, should be able to own it without any kind of documentation, if that's their suggestion?
Yeah, it's interesting because it becomes a test case to say, actually, SBRs are not a factor in crime, and you ought to lift all restrictions on them altogether.
Correct, if that's what they're suggesting, and it is indeed what they're suggesting.
All right, so here's the real question is, I'm going to assume that we all respond to this, and they get hundreds of thousands of responses, and all of them are negative. They could still, they're not bound by the responses, are they?
Well, they're not bound by the responses, but they are bound to respond. And what this does is, because this is going to be a legal battle, that SB Tactical will fight, and that I'm hoping other organizations will fight, the response to what the ATF's response to what we're writing to them will be used in a court of law, and it will need to be it'll need to support itself. In other words, the ATF can't just say, well, these weapons are more lethal than everything else, and then they suggest that there's only 2 murders that were used in a crime. They have to support what the ATF is saying. So we need to kind of get them to respond to the inconsistencies that are put forth in this 71-page document. There is no really good response for them. They're pushed in the corner here.
Right. I love that somebody said, well, a 9mm pistol is okay, and a 9mm rifle is okay. But a 9mm gun that is somewhere between a pistol and a rifle suddenly becomes horribly dangerous, and we can't let that out there. It's ludicrous on the face of it.
Well, they've suggested that it is more dangerous for 2 reasons. And the first one is that a stabilizing brace, this is from the words of our president, a stabilizing brace essentially turns an assault rifle into an assault pistol by making it more accurate. So he's suggesting that the accuracy makes it more lethal. That's the first suggestion. The second suggestion is that it's more concealable. Now, I don't know anybody who's going to suggest that adding something to a firearm makes it more concealable.
Right. We're going to add 10 inches onto this gun, and now it becomes more concealable. What's that about?
I have no idea.
The other part is,
you may translate that better.
And they're saying that making a gun more accurate is undesirable. It's just on the face of it, you're just like, what?
Well, what they're suggesting is that accuracy means lethality, and in fact, the one grave problem with this entire point system is that if you remove the aspect of the brace, okay, 71-page document ostensibly is written because the brace is the problem. Well, with this point system, if you completely remove the brace from the equation, you can fall outside of the point system, and your rifle will still be a short-barreled rifle simply by adding an optic to that firearm. So if you put an optic on it, it's now a short-barreled rifle, regardless of whether there's a brace on it or not.
All right. I mean, where we're going to leave this thing is that everybody, not just people who have braces or might be wanting to brace, even if you said, I don't care about braces, I don't ever want to own one, we have to put a stop to this. We have to stop the ATF from being able to redefine what a gun is by just rewriting the rules, not going through Congress or anything else. I mean, enough of this. We have to stop this here. This is the line in the sand.
It is. It is. And in fact, one of the things that they want to do is redefine the definition of rifle. And they want to do that by adding stabilizing brace to the term rifle, which is odd considering I'm the person who invented the brace. I invented it for pistols. So they should add the stabilizing brace to the definition of pistols. Unfortunately, if they did that, they would make every single stabilizing brace legal as opposed to illegal. And it is obvious by this that, like I told you before, they've re-engineered this entire document to make sure that 99% of these braces are illegal.